What's up, y'all? So we are back, and today I want to just continue on the whole path of self-doubt, right? But today I really want to focus on the trading aspect of this. And I think it'll be valuable. I think it'll be valuable. Um, because self-doubt, right, is present in everything. It's present in everything that we do. But today we're going to talk about trading specifically because I have dealt with this myself. I mean, even to this day, it's still something that you have to work on, right? Um, and so I know that others, it's something that you have to, but you need some support with, right? So I got some notes over here. I'm gonna try to read them because I know I get off track. I can ramble. I can ramble, right? So, um, let's get into it. So the first thing I would say is, you know, and this term has come up so many times, and I want to see if I could find a guy that talks about it. Um, let me see if I can find his name. It was a guy he got interviewed. Uh, man, who is that guy? He worked for a firm. Um, he worked for a firm, and essentially he was. Maybe this is the guy. I'm not 100% sure. Let me see. Bear with me here, because the guy. So he worked for a firm, and his goal was to trade, and essentially things weren't going that great, right? Things weren't going that great, but he didn't give up. I mean, he wasn't making money, but he didn't give up. And so he was talking about one of the things that was really important for traders. I can't find it. I'll have to drop a link later. I'll drop a link later for you guys, right? But essentially, this came up again. I was talking with a friend of mine, and you can go and check out her channel, Billionaire Tomboy. However, I was talking to a friend of mine, and the that message came up again, and so I was like, man, it's really important to share this because I don't think people really understand it. People don't really talk about it, right? So it's edge, guys. It's the lack of edge. So, and when I talk about edge, right? Trading is all about probabilities, right? And I don't care how great your strategy is, you will lose. And so it comes down to a few things. It's like, one, how well do you lose, right? Because some people have a tendency, they get into this whole pattern of losing, and I've done it several times, where it's like, okay, now oh, I'm gonna take the entry again, or I'm gonna take a different entry, whatever, and next thing you know, you have lost a substantial amount in your account, and it didn't have to be that way, right? Like, maybe you just needed to walk away for that moment. But talking on the sticking to the topic of edge, right? So essentially, what what gives me my statistical advantage over the market, right? And that's different for different people because we all see the market in different ways. So I think that is the first thing. Is like, if you are struggling with being successful in trading, then you need to realize that you don't have an edge. You don't have an edge. You're coming, and essentially you're gambling every day, right? You're gambling every day. And when I say gambling, I mean it in this sense. Like, we do know that, hey, the market still has opportunity to do whatever it wants to do. But when I say gambling, I mean that you don't have any structure, any strategy. You haven't proven things to yourself that this is what works. This is repeatable for me. This has good probability. This is what my edge is, right? So many times we come and we approach the market in so many different ways, right? Today my strategy is this. Next week my strategy is something completely different. I am guilty of it. I promise you, I'm guilty of it. Changing a strategy or adding more things to it, taking something away because you're trying to screen this entry and make it even better, when you really just have convoluted things and you've lost your edge. Um, and to give an example, time period, I had a really great edge, right? And I think sometimes you don't even realize these things until afterwards, which is why it's really important to document the things that you're doing, the trades that you're taking, your win rates, and document however you have to. If you got to write it down, you got to journal it, how you feel, all of that. We can get into things like that, but it's really important because like I had a great edge and I was doing really well and I didn't document it, right? And then I had a loss. And so the issue is I had a loss, and instead of just realizing that losses are inevitable, I went and started to mod my strategy. But because I wasn't even documenting the strategy that I was doing, right? So because I didn't, I got so far away from that strategy and just went down this road of turmoil, just got further and further from just being profitable, period. I mean, I went down a hole, man, like a complete hole, and I just a rabbit hole, man. And I know, I feel like everybody does this. Everybody has done it at some point in time, and if you haven't, then I feel like you're just not being honest. But I mean, maybe you are. Some people, maybe they just get it like that or whatever. But I have an engineering background. I overanalyze everything, so I had to be really structured in my approach. But the problem was I was structured in my approach, had a loss, didn't accept that loss too well, made changes, got so far off the path and never could get back there, right? So essentially I had to keep going down the road until I ran up on something else, right? and I think we do that often. So that's the first thing. Like you got to develop an edge. What is your edge? How do you best view the market? What's giving you your best probabilities? What consistently works for you, right? That is the key. And until you can find that, you will continue to not do well in the market. Like that's it. You will continue to not do well in the market, right? And so the next thing is I want to talk about like a lack of belief in the strategy, right? And this is that self-doubt part, right? So that lack of belief, it will sabotage you. It will sabotage you. You have been to spend so much time back testing this strategy. You have told yourself that this strategy is amazing and this works. You've essentially proven it to yourself, and then you start to doubt yourself, right? You start to doubt yourself. And a lot of times you're doubting yourself because one, are you following the rules that you set, right, of the strategy? If you are following the rules of the strategy and you're not having consistency, then you got to go back to what we talked about first, which is the edge, because that must not be your edge. And it must not be your edge because there's no consistency in it, right? So yeah, it might be you formulated something great, right? But the probabilities really aren't there, and it's not good for this market. So therefore your edge, you don't have an edge, right? So, and the only way that you're going to believe in a strategy is if it's working for you. Like that's it. Like you've got to do the back testing. You've got to develop the strategy. You've got to do the back testing. You've got to prove to yourself that it works. You've got to have a structure. You've got to know why you get into these trades, right? And you've got to repeat that over and over. It's got to be repeatable, right? And then from there, in that live market, you got to make sure you maintain that. That approach has to be consistent. It has to be consistent. And, of course, at some point, it may not work. It's okay. Do it again, right? Do it again. You have to believe that strategy works. If you don't believe that strategy works, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's never going to work because, and I'm going to give you an example. Let me ask you this question. So have you ever placed a trade, right? You're like, man, it's an awesome entry. You place that trade, then you turn around and few minutes later, 10 minutes later, hour later, depending on how you trade, what kind of trade you're on, whatever, you close it out because you're over there watching the chart, you watching candles moving up and down, you're watching all this, you go and you close it out because you're getting in some drawdown, and it might not even be nasty drawdown, but something's just like, oh, I don't know. And you close this trade out, right? And then you turn around and this thing just takes off and goes the way or the direction that you were trading in anyway. And if you had just left it alone, you had a great stop, you had a great entry, it just was moving around and it shook you out. It shook you out. And the market is the market does that. And it knows that mentally people have a tough time with this. So you take yourself out and it just goes your direction, right? That's because you're not confident in it. You have self-doubt. You don't believe in the strategy. You don't believe in it. That's why you shook yourself out. So you got to go and you've got to put in the time and the effort to really make sure that you are proving that to yourself, right? So I think one of the biggest things about this self-doubt with trading is just like the self-doubt in anything else in life, right? It really all still comes back down to fear, right? And fear of losing money. Maybe this is your last, which I mean, I don't recommend trading with your last. I don't recommend trading with money that you can't afford to lose. Trading is risky, and you need to be prepared to take that risk. But there's some fear that you have. And I feel even when you have a ton of capital, there still is this fear. And I think that really creeps into a lot of folks trading, and it impacts you, and it really messes with your mental. And so I really strongly believe that the only way to get past that, one, you got to go and do the mental work, right? You got to go do the things on your own, where you work on your confidence and things. But when it comes to the charts, the way that you can help get past that there is data, right? You just have to prove it, and you have to be methodical. You have to almost be robotic without being a bot. Oh, I can't wait to talk about bots too, guys. But you've got to be methodical. You have to have a systematic approach, like you do. And when you develop that system, that's going to make the difference for you. That's what's going to make the difference in your trading. That's what's going to make the difference in your life, because I know just as well as that when you haven't yet got things under control as far as your emotions and things with trading, it impacts the rest of your life, right? And that's not what we want. We want to be in a positive mood, even if we have a negative day, right? We know that we manage our risks effectively, and we're going to be able to trade tomorrow. We've got tomorrow and the day after. And if we need to take the rest of the week off, take the rest of the week off. But we want to make sure that we keep a great outlook, not only for our trading, but, for our life and for the people around us, keep our relationships good. I mean, it's just important. So I just really wanted to touch on, self-doubt in your trading, some of the reasons that, you have these issues, and some of the things that, you can do to help prove it to yourself, right? You got to prove it to yourself. And if that's not it, it's okay to change, but make sure that you stick with something long enough to know that it truly doesn't work, because we also do that. I've done that a million times. And I'm not saying that it's not okay to go and get more education or learn new things, but I think a lot of the times you already know everything you need to know. You're just locking yourself out. You are a trader. You already are the trader that you believe you are, right? That's true. So make sure that you go and take some of these tips back with you. Go get on your charts. Make sure that you define your edge. Make sure that you build a strategy that you trust, that you believe in. Do the work to ensure that you believe in it. And if you need to, you got to find something else. All right. Well, I will see you guys later. Got some things got to get done, but I really just wanted to drop that off for you guys. All right. Peace.